Afternoon, everybody. It's Graham Coath with another My Music. Now, I thought we'd have a torrid time this afternoon. Absolutely torrid. So I'm going to be speaking to Sarah, Adam, Sid, Will, all about torrid in a minute. But first, we're just going to have a little word from our sponsor.
I need to get going, mate. I'll see you later.
And as if by magic, 4 of us are here. Will did come in, and then Will disappeared again. So there we go. Nice to meet you all. Nice to meet you all. Right. So
hi.
Normally I have one, maybe 2 people on, but so this is a bit of a rare occasion to have so many people on. And I normally ask people about their life in music. So where should we start? Sarah. Let's start with you. Where did music start for you, Sarah?
Well, my dad's a barbershop singer, so my earliest memories are of harmonising in the car on the way to school with him. So it kind of all just went from there, really, and then got into songwriting when I discovered rock music as a teenager, and 30 years later, here we are.
There you go. I feel like we should almost start to sing an a cappella version of Mr. Sandman now, just to get you into the mood. Is that?
Let's do it.
Yeah, Mr. Sandman. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Adam, what about you, sir?
I sang in the choir for years at church. I love singing in the choir. Hey, Will.
Hey.
4-part harmony.
4-part harmony. Yeah. I mean,
as a kid, it really drove me up the wall. I really enjoyed doing that.
Was it a traditional kind of church?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
I was a choir boy. I went every Sunday and rehearsed every Friday. And like I say, didn't the God stuff was, but the music was really good.
Having grown up in a church myself, and went along every week, etc. I mean, and it was a Church of England as well. I mean that full organ, big choir at the back.
Absolutely love it. Yeah, big sounds, like echoing around. That's probably influenced the kind of music I enjoy, and like now, the kind of big wall of sound type of stuff. It's
I can't say though that we actually had any kind of like Keith Emerson or Rick Wakeman on that.
Our organ player was terrible.
Yeah, it was
so bad.
Quite often the organ would sort of be out of time with everybody else, etc. But always longed maybe for Rick Wakeman to come along one Sunday and perk it all up. But it's interesting. So many people that have been through this program have said that they started life singing in church. I mean, I think it's there's something about a lot of those hymns are really hard to sing. They are hard to sing.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you're in the choir, you sing more some of the more interesting stuff. Where you've got music and you're actually looking at how the chords are constructed and why they sound the way they do. So it's a good introduction to that, thinking about learning how to read and play music.
I think so.
I'm glad I did.
Yeah. Also, I think for some of us, it strikes a rebellious chord as well, and you sort of like start outside of church. You start looking for the most satanic music you can listen to.
As a Deicide and Behemoth fan, I can testify to that.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of felt guilty when you were playing guitar on a Sunday morning and you started playing Stairway to Heaven. Anyway, Sid, how about you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I think music for me started when I was about 5 or 6. My mum chose the violin for me as an instrument.
Wow.
She thought it's a lovely small instrument, easy to carry around.
Did she regret that quickly?
No. Thankfully, I think I got good at it pretty quickly.
That's amazing. Then. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was never my love. I got to grade 5 in the end and was finally allowed to quit when I was 16 and doing GCSEs.
Yeah.
But yeah, got quite far. And to be fair, I can say it was never my love, but my teacher taught me a lot. And particularly taught me a lot about learning by ear because I'm visually impaired. I can't read music. And so my teacher really, really trained my ears, which has become a really invaluable skill. But guitar was my love. I kind of picked that up myself, was self-taught for a long time, and then went to music college, where I discovered that there were, about 1,000% more guitarists than bassists. Played a little bit of bass for a few people, dipped in a few bands, and now play more bass than guitar.
There you go. And did you find, so having started off on the violin as well, did you find that when it came to bass guitars that you sort of wanted to gravitate towards fretless, etc., and you enjoyed that kind of movement? No.
No, not at all. It's so much easier to have frets. I haven't actually tried a fretless bass. I mean, possibly the fact that I did play the violin might mean I'm okay at playing fretless bass, but I've never actually tried.
I reckon you might be, actually.
Maybe.
There you go. That's something for the future, everybody. Fretless bass. We have to get you one for you to have a go at. Will, what about you, sir? Now, you missed the question, didn't you?
Yeah, so what was the question?
So the question is where did music start for you?
So I guess all my life, my dad had a drum kit in the garage, so that was fun to play along. And then I had lessons in school, and I took it for GCSEs. And then when my parents said, right, what do you want to do after school? I was like, well, music's pretty fun, isn't it? That sounds cool. So I studied it there for a few years, and then I'm a very techie person. So I started being in studio environments and learning about that. And then I just kind of flourished from there. So I guess it's not as decisive as, I've always grown up with music. It was just kind of, this seems kind of fun.
And does the techie side of things, does that help now when you're in the band? Are you the techie one?
Yeah, so I have a studio and I recorded and produced along with Sarah Torrid's album. In fact, I have it right here. Plugging. I have a copy on my desk. So that's really kind of my secondary forte now. I'm a drummer and a producer, which is great.
Yeah, no, that's always helpful. It's always the thing. That's the thing when and I'll ask you about that in a second. But when you get into a group of people or a band of people, there's an element where out of necessity sometimes people come together, right? In my day it was someone had somewhere to practice, so they're in. so someone had amps, they're in. Someone had instruments, they're in. Someone had words, in my case, so I'm in. That was it really. That's how the band formed. It's kind of, you got together and went, oh yeah, everybody brought something with them, so you can all come in. Sometimes you get someone like Bez in the band, who clearly brought the drinks. Doesn't have any other purpose other than to dance on stage, etc. But how did you all meet? Any stories? Let's go with Adam first because he's going. Ooh.
No, just because it's funny. Just because me and Sarah met briefly through a mutual friend, and I saw her sing and was like, "Oh, she's really good at singing," in it. And then I answered an online ad from her to kind of start constructing the songs that she'd written acoustically with a view to it being a rock kind of ensemble. And I was like, but I hadn't heard any of your stuff before I came over and we sat down, had I? No, I hadn't. I hadn't actually heard anything. I just went on faith that I'd heard her sing and it was really, really good.
You knew that she could sing. The voice was good.
And it's what I wanted to do as well. I got quite into playing almost other people writing the music and kind of then having a hand on arranging it and putting it together, which I was finding a little bit more satisfying than sort of doing my own stuff. You know?
That's a great question for you then.
Um,
If Adam, if you'd have turned up and the music had been absolutely rubbish, would you have just rewritten, you know, or pushed all of your own stuff then, would you?
No, I definitely wouldn't push my own stuff because that's crap.
Yeah. And the point is, it was good anyway. So you know, it was kind of a nonsense question, but
I certainly would have thought about asking her to sing on my stuff or writing stuff with her voice in mind if her music hadn't been utterly brilliant like it is. So because like brilliant singer, you know.
There you go.
And nice person as well, like, you know.
So Sarah, that's kind of answered that for you. You had a little project going then, or you had something that you thought you wanted to get out there and you were looking. Yeah.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. I'd been writing for years, but kind of always thought I was a bit rubbish. And then I wrote a song that called, what's it called? Good Enough. And I played it to my...
And it was.
Apparently, yeah. I asked my friend if it was good enough. He said, yes, I think it is. So then that's when I started looking. And so, yeah, me and Ads met first, and we started collaborating, which just has worked beautifully because he's made the songs what they are now, finished. And then we advertised for a bassist, and Sid got in touch. We met and we just clicked over our love of like rock music, basically. So she was in, and then the three of us did sort of acoustic sessions for a bit. We got about 5 or 6 songs sort of done, and then we advertised for a drummer. The first applicant didn't work out, but luckily for Will, because then Will came along and now he's our drummer / producer.
All right. So listen, I'm going to ask Sid. So Sarah says that you kind of bonded over your love of rock music. What particular bands were you bonding over?
Oh God, I don't know. I think it was a combination of our love of rock music and beer.
Yeah, great. That's always a great combo. Yeah,
there was quite a lot of that drunk in our first few acoustic practices at my flat. I seem to remember.
Yeah. Are you sort of a lighter ale?
I'm a bit of a lager and an IPA.
Yeah, good. Yeah, nice.
And I seem to remember just having stronger beer than Sarah was used to, and she always said I would get her drunk whenever she'd come to my flat for musical rehearsals.
She introduced you into up past the 5%.
I'd never drunk before I met Sid. I didn't even know what alcohol was. So
right, yeah, I'm kind of getting that from.
I don't think I'm allowed to say BS at this time, am
I? I see. And Will. So the advert came about, and you went for it. So did you have to audition?
Yeah, I mean, not really. It was kind of, as Sarah said, there was
had to drink.
Well, I mean, we all choose to. I'm not going to say there's anything forced. No, yeah, as Sarah said, there was another drummer, and he had written some parts, so I listened to the songs with some drum parts, and I went in and I said, "Oh, these parts are cool, but can we try this?" And I think, unless everyone's been lying to me for the last couple of years, I think they're better, or more suitable, I should say, more suitable. So yeah, and I think the most important thing when you're auditioning or joining any band is that you get on with everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think we do. So yeah.
Especially, I mean, it may not have been the thing at the time, you know, over the last couple of years, because people haven't been out and about in vans together. But once you start sharing a van together, or whichever way it is that you transport yourselves to gigs, do you still do that these days? Do you do a van?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we don't have a band van yet.
No, I mean every band must buy a van at some point.
Yeah, there's always time. But yes, we've really only done some local gigs that haven't really required long-term vans. Not yet.
Yeah, but I mean that album, and we'll come to it in a minute. But the graphic for that album is fantastic. I mean, that on the side of a van would look really kicking, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
That would scare a few people going down the road. That would be great. Slide the door open. Ice creams. You know. Oh yeah, I'd love to see that. So listen, what about listening to music? What are there common interests in terms of listening to music now between all of you, or has anyone got a particular thing that's quite unique to them in terms of listening?
I feel like we're all a little bit different, actually.
Okay, cool.
I do feel like we listen to slightly different things, and we just gel together well in the music that we play. But I do feel like we generally listen to slightly different things.
I think
Who's
we've
got the
got
most avant-garde? Who's got the most avant-garde music taste?
Adam, yeah.
Probably me.
Yeah. What is it that Adam? What is it that you listen to? The rest of the band go, well, yeah.
I don't know. I like pretty brutal stuff. I listen to music a lot when I'm kind of exercising or moving around or so I just naturally end up listening to a lot of very, just really heavy stuff that gets you pumped because that's what I'm doing. But my actual MP3 player has got I've been listening to the last Tori Amos album mostly for the last 2 weeks.
Oh, what
so
a tremendous album
eclectic.
it is. Yeah.
But yeah, I do most of the time. I'll listen to Gojira.
Pretty heavy stuff.
They're my latest favorite. Gojira and Mastodon, things like that. Proggy, but like heavy guttural vocals. The thing.
What about everyone else? What are other people listening to? Will?
I mean, I've a very wide taste because I grew up. My mum was a punk, my dad was a metalhead, my granddad worked in an opera house.
What a combination!
So yeah, and so as a teenager, angsty teenager, I was like, oh, rock and punk and metal, and then I kind of developed into liking like jazz and hip hop and R&B and all sorts. Really, at the moment, I'm listening to the new Ghost album. It's great.
That's so good.
It's so good. I've been listening to a lot of Baltic music and a lot of klezmer tunes because I work with a band that do some folky stuff.
Cool.
I don't know, really. It depends. Sometimes I'm in a dancey mood. Who knows?
Yeah. But one day we might see a punk deconstruction of La Boheme from you or something like that.
It's coming. It's coming.
It's coming. There we go. What about Sid? Sid, what are you listening to?
Right now, I'm listening to a little instrumental electronic playlist, which I like to work to. So that's something I have during the day. But yeah, my taste is massively, massively varied as well, depending on what mood I'm in. Like Adam, I've got a really heavy, aggressive playlist for the gym, which is a combination of quite heavy, aggressive rock and then like fast-paced dance music. So it's an odd combination, but it's all just energy and it works.
It all goes together.
It just has the same effect, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, I listen to a lot of kind of modern melodic rock. I kind of grew up listening to my stepdad was a big influence of 80s rock. He got me into like Queen and Bon Jovi and Aerosmith, and I discovered Metallica by myself, and they were a massive influence on my guitar playing.
All those perms at the time,
Oh yeah, you got to love all the hair metal.
Yeah.
And then the other side is I listen to a lot of country as well, and I listen to a lot of Spanish pop music because I really like it. So yeah,
Spanish pop music. Oh, that's going somewhere a little bit different. Do you speak Spanish?
I do, and I started listening to it when I was really working hard on the language, and then discovered that I actually really liked the music. So.
It's tremendous. I often think English people are a bit lazy with other language music.
Oh God, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was just kind of, well, that's in a foreign language, so don't understand it. But it's I think it's worth persevering. I've got quite a lot of Icelandic music in my collection. Yeah, I love the kind of glottal kind of sounds from the voice from different people. How about you, Sarah? I mean, being a singer, what do you listen to, or what do you listen to?
I have my staples, I suppose, like David Bowie, Beatles, The Who, like Faces, stuff like that. I love the 60s stuff. And I'm also really stuck in the 90s. Like, a lot of my influences come from like grunge and sort of post-grunge style of music. So like Alice in Chains and like Skunk Anansie were a massive thing for me.
Right.
Alanis Morissette, amazing songwriter, and very melodic, you know. And I think that's what brings us together, is that I think we're quite not unusual, because I think plenty of bands do it, but we are heavy. So we appeal to people that like heavy music, but also we are really melodic. We have three-part harmonies running all the way through our stuff. And I think that appeals to people that maybe like the more melodic stuff, and we all like that. So we write what we love. And I think that's why it all sort of comes together.
And you can take things into a more acoustic mode as well. Yeah.
So we've got a couple of acoustic gigs lined up. We did one last year, which was really nice. We've got a couple coming up this year, and it's really nice because although I think we all prefer to play as a band the heavy version, but actually what's really nice is you get a different sense of the harmonies and how they all work together, and I think it's a slightly different feel, like slightly different message, but it still works. I think it works anyway.
Yeah, no, I do. And I think it, you know, it kind of proves to those people that think, well, that's just heavy, you know, because there are some people that go, well, that's just heavy. But when you cut it down, then you actually get people realize, oh, that, you know, that's a real tune, you know. The layering on with the heavy stuff, that's great, isn't it? But it's nice to be able to break a tune down into its raw, you know, just played on acoustic instruments as well.
Yeah, I mean that's where they're born, isn't it? So, you know, it starts there. Hi, Eliza. It starts there. So
is this the sixth member of the band, by the way?
Yeah.
Right.
She's going to play tambourine.
Tambourine. Yeah. We'll give her a cowbell. Give her a cowbell. That's always a good one.
More cowbell.
Will won't mind. So count you in, Will.
All the percussion we can get, I'm here for.
Will's got a fever for the cowbell.
It can't be stopped.
In terms of this album, how did it get written? Did you have to write it separately, in you know, or were you able to be together to write this album?
Essentially, it was written before lockdown happened, but it wasn't recorded. So the songs were I think they were all done, weren't they? I think pretty much before.
Yeah, I'd say it was written.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, but then lockdown happened, and so we only had a couple of recordings. So what that meant was we basically had to be really opportunistic with like the little breaks in lockdowns and be like, right, we're allowed out next week, let's get in the studio. And it took us a while.
You could have just hung number 10 on the door, that would have been all right. I mean,
yeah, in retrospect.
Yeah, few empty champagne bottles outside, no one would have known the difference.
No one would have minded. So you just had to wait for those little gaps between all the different lockdowns and then go for it.
Yeah, we did a few bits separately as well. I sent in, there's one of the tracks that I recorded the bass at home and sent it to Will.
Yeah, so modern technology does help. Yeah,
exactly, definitely.
But when we had that short time to record, we were quite intent. Those, you know, we would work really hard for like whatever it was, 10 hours, and then sort of, so you're getting as much done whilst you're focused and in the zone. It'd be lovely to turn up every day at studio for like 3 or 4 weeks and just kind of meander through the process. But I think it gave it some urgency because we was like getting on with it. And also we wanted it to sound essentially like a 4-piece band.
Yeah.
Because when you go into a studio and you got someone really clever like Will that can, you know, really, you know, work on stuff, and you know, but we wanted it to sound like what we were going to sound like live, which I think we've done. There's a few whistles and bells and whatnot, but it doesn't detract from the 4-piece. You know, this is a 4-piece rock band, and this is kind of what we're doing. which is really good. I was happy about that.
There's quite a number of bands that I've talked to have said similar thing about the kind of the pandemic and the recording process, etc., which is that it almost helped in a way, give the focus and made people go, right, we've got to get in there, we've got to do it, we can't mess about, we can't go in there.
An album. I think the fact that we weren't gigging made us make an album, because it wasn't really in the plan. Just before lockdown hit, we'd had a couple of gigs. We were starting to get more gigs, and I don't think we would have had an album by last year if the year before hadn't been what it was.
No.
So now it's supercharged the band now. You've now got this thing in your hands which you now want to go and tour, and all the chains are off now effectively, so you can now go and do it. So what's the plan for the rest of 2022? Where are we taking this?
Anywhere that will have us.
We want to play live, don't we? That's what we want, because that's what has been missing from the last couple of years. And it's a proper buzz, getting together with your mates and playing, even if it's just for us, even if it's for 3 people. It's us doing it together is brilliant. That's what I want to do.
Are you all in a similar geographical location to each other, or do you actually have to? Do you live
near enough?
No, okay.
Yeah. Me and Will are about 20 minutes away from Brighton, where you guys are. So it's all right. A little bit of travelling.
It's doable.
Yeah, it's not like one of you's in Scotland and one of you's in Cornwall or anything like that. It's nothing dark.
Although that's doable now. That's the funny thing, is now that's become. I remember there was a band called, I think they were called the Postal Service, and one guy would record and then send it across America by mail, and then it would get picked up, and then he'd record the next.
Yeah.
But now you can actually, virtual studio with other bandmates and stuff, and that's another thing that's come out of this pandemic. People so that's a really interesting concept. Forming a band with somebody in the Orkney Islands or something. I mean, that's hilarious.
Well, certainly from a recording point of view, you can record with anyone anywhere in the world.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, it's completely different from back in the day when we had to do everything to tape or similar, and so being in the same room was an absolute necessity. But nowadays, you can all deliver your parts and jam away wherever you are and bring it all together. It's amazing what you can do there. But actually, for getting out live, then it's a little bit more tricky. So where are you hoping to start playing first? Presumably within the sort of Brighton, London area, is that right?
Yeah, we've got gigs, Brighton, Worthing, London coming up in the next few months, and Hove, obviously. Yeah. So they're all booked in already. We've done a couple of gigs already this year, and we're hoping to book more. We're always looking. We're networking.
Go away.
Sorry, she's keen as mustard. She's going to be booking those gigs for you.
I hope so.
Useful.
We could use a manager, so that'd be great.
Do you find? Are you finding promoters are willing to give you a shot these days? Or is it difficult out there to get gigs?
It's really hard. Yeah, it's really hard. And I think if you haven't got any support, we're very lucky. We've got the label Lights and Lines, who have helped us to produce the album, but we've also met a few. They've got contacts and we've made contacts now, and they are helping us to get gigs. But the amount of times you contact a place, they don't get back to you, or you book somewhere. We had a Christmas gig cancelled literally like 2 days before because they got a better offer, and stuff like that. And it can be really disheartening, and it's a full-time job on its own. I wasn't kidding when I said earlier that this is a full-time job. If you want to get out there and you want to be heard, then you've got to be in people's faces all the time, which is challenging. It's difficult. So
it is.
for us in Brighton, which has always had like a really vibrant music scene, it's very different now to what it was 10 years ago. And a lot of the small to medium-sized venues that you kind of cut your teeth playing gigs in are gone. They're just not there anymore because of, I don't know, it does seem to be because of noise restrictions and things like that, and therefore that curtailing kind of what they want to do. But we've lost so many small venues that I used to play at. Before my daughter was born, I played in about 4 or 5 bands, and I'd be gigging like every night of the week, and just there aren't the amount of venues to be able to kind of do that, and that's very, very sad that the live music has taken such a hit even before the pandemic.
Well, the one thing that is coming back, and I'm pleased to say I've seen more and more adverts for in the last few weeks are festivals. So maybe you can get yourself onto a festival. That would be great, wouldn't it?
That's the dream.
It does seem that people are beginning to put festivals back on, whereas all of that stops and all of those smaller festivals kind of disappeared, etc.
Yeah,
there seems to be
those lovely little festivals that you go to where it's all kind of local bands with a couple of awesome headliners, and because missing those hugely. It's a good point.
No, but I've definitely seen in the last week. I mean, we've just got back from holiday from Cornwall, and there was probably picked up a leaflet in the service station or whatever, and there was about 5 or 6 little festivals that are going to now happen this summer in that one little area, and it's great, as you say. One or two headline bands, but everybody else on the list, just people that are up and coming. So hopefully, for all of the bands out there, we're going to actually get a summer of festivals. It looks like the weather may turn as well, so we may actually get some good weather as well.
Let's hope so.
So thanks all for joining me today. Thanks for saying a little bit about your music. Now, where can people get hold of it? That's the really important thing.
The CD, this CD right here is available.
Or that one.
Is available on Bandcamp. And if you search for Torrid, A Love Affair, you will find it there. You can also buy a downloadable version, but if you do that, you don't get to see all the beautiful artwork and all the lovely pictures and things.
Who wouldn't want to see all the beautiful artwork?
Exactly. So, buy the CD. We're on all the socials. We're on Spotify and Apple Music and all the other ones too. And all the socials.
And remember, folks, the other day, a certain website that streams music went down, didn't it, for a little bit? So, that never happens with a CD. So just remember
That's very true.
That's our other 90s influences. The CD love, the love for CDs. Love CDs.
Love
I
CDs.
still buy CDs.
Yeah.
I don't stream anything.
Well, exactly. We love CDs. I actually I don't use I don't even know where it's gone actually. I was going to say I don't even use Alexa Dots or Echo Dots as anything other than coasters in this house. Whereas some people use CDs as coasters, I use Echo Dots as
nice.
coasters. I think that's a really good use for them. And then everything gets played off CD or vinyl. What a shame.
Yeah.
And it never goes wrong. Never goes wrong.
No.
That's the thing. And you can put them in your car, and it's safe as well. It's safe to put a CD in your car. You can't change them very easily whilst you're driving, which is even better because it means you have to listen to the whole album, kids. Imagine that, not being able to skip and just listen to bits of albums. Marvelous thing. Marvelous. Oh, there it is. There's my coaster. There we are. Got my coaster. Yeah, there we are. Great for coffee. Great for coffee cups. That it raises it up as well. So and actually, when you do it with beer cups like that, it's nearer to your mouth.
Closer to you. Yeah. Less transit. Brilliant.
Yeah, so you're again less likely to develop some kind of tendonitis in your elbow.
We're all going to go out and buy some Alexa coasters now tomorrow.
And not Alexa coasters, and not use them as for playing music at all. Thank you all for joining me. Thanks everybody.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much
for having us.
We've had a torrid time.
We have.
But now everyone's going to go and listen to your music. So take care.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
Somewhere around the UK at some point. Bye for now.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.